Welcome, Elizabeth. Thank you for coming on the My Story podcast.
Yes, thanks for having me.
And I'm so excited to interview you about your story. We were talking a few weeks ago, and Elizabeth shared the journey of her co-parenting relationship with her ex-husband. And I thought it was so inspirational. And I know there are a lot of people who are dealing with co-parenting situations, right? When you get divorced, you kind of get divorced if you have kids.
Right. If you have kids, there's no, you're never actually...
Right. You still have a relationship, and you still have to figure out how to make something work, right? The most important thing to make that work. And so I was just very inspired, and I think a lot of our listeners would be inspired, especially if you're dealing with a difficult co-parenting situation, to hear the story of how you and your ex-husband kind of went about that. So let's start with, how long were you married?
Okay. We were married for 7 years.
Okay. And how many children?
We have 3.
3. Okay. And what are the age gaps?
They're all about 2 years apart, give or take.
Okay. And so you're married 7 years, and then, and what's his name? Can you share his name?
Marshall.
Yep. Okay. And at what point did you realize this isn't working and it probably isn't going to work?
So I feel like it was a really slow burn.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, it started probably 2 years before I actually asked for a divorce. And the kind of straw that broke the camel's back was we had gotten into this fight, and I asked, are you only in this for the kids? Do you even care about me? And his answer when he came back after we'd calmed down was yes, I really do care about you. I'm in this. But internally, my answer was yeah, I'm done. I am only staying for the kids.
Oh, so you were kind of asking yourself at the same time you're asking him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was very interesting, and that wasn't information I immediately shared because I was still processing exactly what I wanted and how to navigate things moving forward. And ultimately did say, yeah, I don't want to be married anymore. This is not working. It hasn't been working for a long time. I think because it was such a slow burn, I had tried so many different things for so long that I was no, I have given this my all.
What had you tried to resolve the issues you had?
We did some couples counseling. I did some of my own counseling and personal development. We were part of a church community and tried to get some mentorship there. I was consuming tons of books and podcasts and workshops and anything I could get my hands on to better myself and really try to improve things from a accountable, responsible standpoint.
Right. Did any of those things make any kind of difference?
There were small differences. It was usually temporary, and ultimately things that weren't temporary just wasn't enough. It didn't make a big enough impact.
Right.
And it takes 2 to tango. And in hindsight, what I've learned is he and I really were not compatible.
Okay. You wanted different things.
We should probably not have gotten married in the first place. I am very outgoing. I am very adventurous. I love people. I love being around people. I love traveling. And he is a lot more of a homebody. He doesn't mind a close group of friends, but the big events, that's not him. And it's hard to be with someone who's so different from you in some core areas of importance.
Excuse me. Well, I find I talked to a lot of couples, and I find that that's really common, that we actually are very attracted to somebody who's very different from us because unconsciously we see that that's going to balance us out. Maybe we're turned up pretty high volume on some areas, and they're turned up high in another area, and we kind of come to the middle, but we balance each other out. And in some ways that really works, and in other ways it really, really doesn't, especially if you want different things.
Yes, it definitely depends on what are the core important values. And additionally, that church community we are a part of wasn't the right fit for me.
Okay.
And
but it worked for him?
It works for him. He's still part of that community. And so that would have been a huge
friction,
rift
Yeah.
and canyon in the relationship had we continued to stay married.
Okay.
And, we got married very, very young. And I didn't even really know what I wanted or who I was. And I don't think he did either. And he is now remarried. His wife is lovely. I tell people all the time she's like a literal angel. And it's like having a sister wife without having a sister wife because she helps with the kids' doctor's appointments and parent-teacher conferences and homework. And she really has taken on our kids as her own.
That's
and
amazing.
Her and I have a really great friendship.
Well, let's back up and see how you got there. So when you did ask for the divorce, things like you said, you had a big fight, and fights were kind of a normal
regular
thing. Okay, very regular.
Weekly, sometimes more than once a week.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay, so it was there was a lot of conflict, a lot of friction.
Yep.
And so, when you asked for the divorce, how did he take it?
Not great, actually. He really spiraled into a massive depression and ended up needing some significant medical help with
Was
that.
he prone to depression before this?
I suspected that he had some depression before, but it was never anything that we'd explored. But the depression when I asked for a divorce was not just because we were getting divorced, but also because I handled it really poorly.
Oh.
And I made some decisions that I am not proud of and, wouldn't have made had I known then what I know now.
Sure.
And I've been able to, learn from those experiences. But his spiral was really hard on us. He ended up moving in with some roommates, but he couldn't have the kids at that place that he was living. And so I had our kids full-time for the first 4 months of our separation. And then once he moved into his own place, he got an apartment they could have their bedroom, and he was able to have them, we do 1 week on, 1 week off.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how our co-parenting dynamic started.
So that first 4 months when you were full-time with the kids.
Yeah.
What was going on in your mind about the path forward? Like, were you thinking, oh my gosh, maybe not? This is really hard.
I had gone past the point of no return.
Okay.
As far as no divorce is definitely happening.
Okay.
There was I literally threw a bomb on our marriage.
Okay.
And knew that there was no way either one of us would ever want to reconcile. Yeah. So things were really, really rocky. The contention that we had remained but was now different. We were arguing about different things now. And one thing that I think was the hardest was, obviously I still wanted him to have a relationship with our kids, but we were not getting along, and he was not in a position to have them at his place. And so
by the way, I don't know if that's very obvious, because a lot of women do decide that since I don't get along with him, he doesn't get to be with the kids, right? And I love that you didn't decide that, but unfortunately, a lot of mothers do decide, not only do I see him as an unfit parent, but they're even nastier, and they're like, I'm going to punish him for not being what I wanted him to be for me.
I've seen that.
And really use the kids as a weapon. It's really, really sad.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's super obvious, but I'm glad that you did.
You're right. It is not an obvious thing. It was obvious for me,
right,
but it isn't necessarily the normal for most divorces.
But he couldn't, in that environment, have the kids.
Right. So what we were doing was he was coming over after dinner and doing all of the bedtime routine with the kids, and then leaving and going back home. And we did that several times a week for several months.
Wow.
And I would, go hide out in another room. The house that I was in had 4 bedrooms. One of them was an office, so I could go hide out in my bedroom or the office, and he could have all of the kids upstairs with their toys and their beds and their stuffed animals and their books, and do the whole bedtime routine, bath time, all of that.
How did the kids handle that time?
They were very young. My youngest was 2, and then we had a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Okay.
And this was also COVID.
Oh, wow.
So COVID, like the mass shutdown, happened in the midst of our divorce process.
Okay, so there's a lot of instability for the kids,
Yes.
not just the marriage. It was like tons of things.
It was
upheaval.
crazy. And for the most part, I feel like our kids adjusted pretty well. And I largely think that that's because of how I talked to them about their dad and about what was happening.
Okay. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah. So when their dad wasn't able to see them for a little while, I just very clearly said, like sometimes people get really sick. Sometimes it's physically, sometimes it's with their brain, and they need help from doctors. And so dad's getting help from doctors. And when he's healthy and well, he'll be able to see you and play with you and have you over at his house again. And I would just always reiterate, like, you guys have a great dad.
Yeah.
Like,
And he wants
really
to be
loves
with you, but he just can't right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
nice.
once it was, okay, he's coming over and doing bedtime routine with them, or they were getting ready to, okay, like, you guys are going to go to dad's house for a couple of weeks. And what do you want to take over there? Like, you can take things that you want to keep over there. You can just take things for the visit. Like, what do you want to take? And letting them have some autonomy over their belongings, their clothes, their stuffed animals, their pillows and blankets. Like, you could take whatever you want back and forth. It doesn't matter to me. It's your guys' stuff.
Nice.
That helped a lot. And really just like I made sure to never speak poorly about their dad to them or around them. Like,
Good.
even in conversations on the phone with my parents or with friends, or if people were coming over to chat and catch up or have dinner with us, like, I never wanted them to hear me say something bad about their dad, because they are all daddy's girls and they all look up to him, and I didn't want to be the reason that would be ruined.
Awesome. That's a very mature decision. I bet it was difficult in the times when you were just
It was so hard.
so frustrated.
Because I was so angry for a long time. And there were times that I did make mistakes and I would start to mention something. And thankfully, I had really great support system that was like, let's talk about that later after let's send the kids outside and then we can talk.
Amazing.
And so, because, as an adult, I still needed to process my emotions and have my support system too. And thankfully, I have surrounded myself with really
Other
incredible
mature people.
who could say, oh, you need to talk? Let's go send the kids outside to play and then we can talk.
That is amazing.
So that was really
so
key.
that really does highlight, it's not just, the divorce isn't just you and him and the kids. It's like there's a whole community involved here.
Yeah.
And surrounding yourselves with other mature people who can hold space for heavy emotions and act like an adult. And I know a lot of people, unfortunately, don't have the luxury of having a family full of grown-ups or mature people. And so not only are you making the difficult decision to put distance between you and your children's father, but sometimes you got to put distance between you and a lot of people, and that can be very isolating. And then you're feeling the grief from the loss of multiple relationships and a whole, community. So that's wonderful that you had that benefit.
Yeah, and he and I had some pretty good mutual friends. And I would tell them, like, no, like, I don't want you to pick a side. Like, he's still a great person. Just because we didn't work out doesn't mean anything bad about either one of us. And, some of those people are friends with him better now than they were with me.
Oh, wow.
And, like, their relationship has grown since then. And that's okay. Like, there's no hard feelings. There's no animosity. It's one of those things where, like, hey, he needed that more than I did. Like, I had a much bigger, being the outgoing one, I had a much bigger support system.
Sure. So, okay, so it's contentious. What was the point where it flipped from, I hate you, I'm so angry, to, okay, we gotta be friends?
So we've been divorced a little over 5 years now. And it wasn't one moment where things shifted. We filled out our divorce paperwork together. We didn't have a ton of assets or like property or stuff to fight over. It was literally just how are we taking care of parenting time and decisions about the kids. And in that, I asked him, like, what is our ultimate goal? Like, I know you want us to stay married, and that's not an option for me. So with that in mind, what's the ultimate goal for our family? Like, what do things look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when the kids have kids? And we both agreed that some things that were really important to us for our kids was we both got to be at all of their birthday parties and celebrations.
And this was happening while you're filling out it?
While we're filling out paperwork.
Wow.
And if things got heated, we'd say, okay, let's revisit this conversation tomorrow. Like, we were not afraid to say, yep, nope, we're fighting too much. Done for today.
Stick a pin in it.
Move on to another day. But, you know, we decided, like, birthday parties, making sure that if there ever came a time where we could be friends, that we could have some holidays together. Just this last year, actually, we did get to have Christmas dinner together. Him, his wife, me, my boyfriend, all of our kids, some of the parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles came, and it was a really wonderful time. My house was bursting at the seams full of people, and the kids had a blast. We played games. They were there till like 9 o'clock at night with us, just playing games, enjoying family time together. And so these were goals we set from the beginning. Now, getting there took several years. It was not easy. Sure. I think some things that really helped us get to the point where we are now were personal accountability. Like, we both made mistakes, and we both had to come to terms with the people we were when we made those decisions, and recognize, I didn't like who I was in that moment. I didn't like how I treated you, and I'm sorry. Full stop.
Right.
There was no justifying, there was no blaming, there was no pointing fingers. And once we both had those moments, because they did not happen at the same time,
right?
But once we both had those moments and made those apologies to each other, ever since then, things have been golden. And that came from us each, again, like getting individual counseling and therapy or other coaching and personal development tools and processes.
So when you were filling out the papers, were you still feeling anger? Was that?
I think a lot of my anger got compartmentalized for a little while and came later after the papers were finalized. The judge signed off, mailed them back to us. He was definitely still feeling angry during that whole time, and rightfully so, honestly, because I was kind of not nice at that time. So for me...
But he was able to have that conversation about what do we want the future to look like. He was able to put his anger aside for that conversation.
For those conversations, and largely that was just me like refocusing back to it.
Okay.
And I think that there was a lot of shock for both of us too, which kind of mitigated some of the really heavy emotions that came privately or later down the road, because shock tends to numb a lot of that. Yeah. So it gave us an opportunity to really have good conversations, and we just always circled back to like, what's going to be best for the kids? Like, does this serve the kids' best interest? Does this get us closer to our goal of what we want their experience and childhood to look like? That's
great. So it was just kind of fortunate you both had that as your top value, as what's best for the kids, not what's best for me and my wounded heart.
Yes. And that's not to say we weren't wounded, because we absolutely were. But setting that aside as the secondary concern that we could deal with on our own, and keeping the kids as the thing that we worked on together.
Okay. And so when you were working on that on your own, you got counseling moving forward.
Yeah.
And was that what what were some of the realizations that came to you that inspired I was really crappy to you and I'm really sorry. Like what were the ahas that inspired taking that accountability?
For me, it was, I had a really hard time being vulnerable about how I was feeling. I didn't know how to communicate what I was feeling.
Okay.
And so once I learned how to communicate what I was feeling, and I saw that the actions that I had taken was a result of like all of these pent-up emotions that I didn't know how to get out, that made it a lot easier to be like, wow, I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And
Just didn't have
I'm
the
sorry
skill.
that happened, that I did that because I didn't know.
Right.
And then on his end of things, I don't want to necessarily put words into his mouth, but he did have therapy for several months. He got really clear that this was a conversation he did have with me where he said, I always felt like I was in competition with you.
I see that a lot with
being
couples.
on the same team.
Yeah.
And so that was a really clear key turning point for him.
I bet. Yeah. And it is very much a shift for a client, when I'm working with couples, when they realize, oh, wait, we can relate where we're not in competition with another.
Yeah.
What does that even look like? What is that? Like, it's just normal. And they think that everybody relates like this. And to even think, how could we be on the same side? How could we be on the same team? It's such a mind-blowing concept for people who have just been doing that forever and ever.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it is, I think, culturally, everyone's always in a competition, and so it's what is comfortable, what we know how to do. It's almost second instinct.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we have these very wonderfully developed brains that are very powerful, and with the right tools and coaches or therapists or
Well, and you said you got married very
mentors.
young.
Yeah.
Your brain's not even done until
No.
you're like 28 years old.
Yep, which is surprise when we got divorced.
Right?
I was 28.
You were 28. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's amazing how, kids, they're getting married to kids. I was 22 when I got married, and looking back, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I thought that way. But that's the way kids think. And I was a kid.
Right. We think that we turn 18, we're automatically adults, which legally, yes, but not developmentally.
No. And so you recognized in therapy, that journey, you recognized that you didn't have the skills for handling your emotions in a really productive kind of way. So can you share with us what you did do with emotions?
I tended to bottle them up, and then when we would start fighting, I'd be like, but you did this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this.
Okay. So you would not address the things that were bothering you.
Yeah.
You just stuff them down. And then when things came to a head, you brought up all the problems instead of this problem that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, it's like an explosion going off because, like, in my mind, I had just let it go. But clearly I didn't.
No, because it came up when you were emotional.
Because it would come when we were fighting. And he had some of those moments, too, where he had bottled things and, like, the same thing. And, both of you having a carbonated bottle that you're constantly shaking up and then you're opening is never going to be good. It's always going to be messy.
Okay, so there's a lot of avoidance going on and playing house and keeping the peace.
Yes.
Not having the courage to have difficult conversations.
Hard conversations,
when things were relatively small and not a big deal, then they'd build into a big deal. Okay, and so through this process, you've learned how to have harder conversations.
Yes.
And kind of, do you remember how that started for both of you?
So for me, I actually took a personal development course back in 2015 when we were still married.
Okay.
And that was kind of the starting point. Now, my brain still wasn't fully developed, so I didn't quite understand all of the concepts that I was learning and how to apply them, which sometimes I think maybe did more harm than good.
I can see how that could be the case.
Because I didn't know what to do with the information I got. I just had all this information now.
And I'm the one with all the information.
Yes, I know everything now. No.
I'm the mature one.
Yes, it was not good. But that developed a love and passion for personal and professional development that, when I would see something that was interesting or that I could relate to, or that, like, my intuition was just kind of like, hey, you should pay more attention to that. Like, I would get really curious and I would explore the topic and research. And then I've since taken other personal development courses with different companies. I've done different workshops. I got certified as a magnetic femininity coach.
Awesome.
And I'm not coaching right now, but it's still valuable skills that I can apply in my personal life for conversations. We bought I was inspired by a friend of mine who had these pillowcases that have the emotion wheel on them.
Oh,
and they're
awesome.
very, very soft. And you could get them on Amazon for like, I don't know, $20.
Yeah.
And so we bought those. And I have used those a number of times to just like say, okay, like, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling that way? What am I actually afraid of? Like, really peeling back the layers. And I wouldn't have known how to do that if I hadn't talked to a therapist and a coach who were trained how to do that.
Awesome. I love that. And having tools that are right in front of you that you can use, that's a great suggestion. I love that you mentioned that because
I even have a sticker on my laptop.
awesome. Just being able to identify the feeling and it makes it like, oh, this is just a feeling. It makes it more manageable, I think, for a lot of people. What was I going to ask you about that? So you learned how to handle emotions, and then how did it happen? So you started having more hard conversations with that.
It started actually in my other relationships. Like once I started dating and having real relationships again, I could practice having those hard conversations in a new, fairly neutral, low stakes environment, right? The relationship was fresh. We're not committed to each other yet. And with that practice, it became easier to have harder conversations where the stakes are higher, like with my ex-husband.
Oh, that's a very cool suggestion. So if you're having trouble with one particular person in your life, that's okay. Just practice with other people.
Practice the skills.
Practice holding space for that tension. That I don't know what's going on with my voice today. Have practice holding that emotional tension in your body, feeling the fear, and doing it anyway in, like you said, lower stakes environments, so that your nervous system gets kind of used to it.
Yes.
And then when it really does feel intense, you can handle it.
Yeah,
and practice.
I mean, I like to think of it like it's muscle memory.
Yeah.
Right. Our brain works just like a muscle, and like with playing piano or an instrument or with sports, the more you practice, the easier it is to repeat the thing without thinking about it.
Yes.
And so that's kind of the approach that I took, was like, how can I practice these skills with my friends, with my mom, with my dad, with my brother, with this random person I'm on a date with,
right?
And ask hard questions and share vulnerable answers.
Yeah.
And then it made it so much easier to have harder conversations as relationships progressed, with relationships that were already really established, like my children's dad. And now, like, my current partner and I have hard conversations regularly. Like it's just no big deal. It's just part of how we operate, because we know if we shy away from them, it builds resentment.
Sure.
And, that's a
poison.
lesson that was learned from operating the wrong way in our marriages.
Nice. Okay. I was going to ask you about the femininity coach. What was it specifically that drew you to femininity coaching and being certified in that?
So I started dating, and I'd never really dated. Like, I grew up in a religion where, oh, you like him, he likes you, okay, you're getting married and having babies. Yeah. There was no dating to see if you're compatible, to see if you really like each other, to see if you have the same goals. Like, that didn't exist. You are both part of this church, so you obviously have the same goals.
Obviously. Yeah.
So for me, I was terrified. I was literally sitting in my car on a first date, like waiting to go into a first date because I got there stupid early because I was so anxious. And I was texting a friend of mine, and I was like, I literally have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I'm so scared. I feel like I'm having a panic attack. And she said, I know a dating coach. I'm going to send you her info. She added me to her free Facebook group. I just started observing the content, and I was like, yeah, this really resonates with me. I firmly believe that every single individual has masculine and feminine energy within them, and in a relationship it needs to be balanced, just like in your individual person it needs to be balanced. So the more that I learned about that, the more I was like, yeah, I think I want to like really get some skills here,
really lean into it.
And the best way that I saw was to do the year certification because it touched on all the different components, you know, and it was deep diving for an hour every week for 3 or 4 months, and then group coaching, and then practicing coaching and getting coaching. And it was really, really helpful. One, to learn to be vulnerable, because that was something I had a really hard time with.
And that's probably what reinforced the competition going on.
Yeah. And so it helped me learn to be vulnerable and learn what that actually means, because I think people say it, but they don't actually understand what it means.
Yeah.
And then also like learning the skills of how to label my emotions and communicate that in a way that men understand, because men and women communicate differently.
Yes, this is true. So you learned all this stuff, and then you met your current partner.
Yeah.
Was he aware of how the masculine feminine balance goes when you really?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
He actually, when we met, he called this book his relationship Bible, and it's called How to Be a 3% Man. It's by Corey Wayne.
Corey Wayne, yes.
Yep. And I will say I've read the book. There's a lot of great stuff in it. I don't agree with everything in it.
I'm on the same page with you.
I think that's going to be the case with anything.
Yes.
Because we are so nuanced as humans.
Yes, indeed. And I have a client right now who he likes Corey Wayne stuff, and he sent me anyway, he sent me a polo the other day, and he goes, something just occurred to me. I've really benefited from Corey Wayne stuff, and it's good stuff. But he's not married. And you are. And you've been married a long time. So that's just kind of landing on me right now. And just take the implications as you will. But, you know, in my experience, I like to get guidance from people who have the results I want.
Yes, that is so important. That's actually something that I realized, I don't even know, is probably why I was still married. I was like, why would I take advice from somebody who doesn't have the lifestyle that I want? Whether that's with money, whether it's with their job, whether it's with their kids. Like, if they can't model it, why am I taking advice from them?
Right. But that's not to say that it's not valuable. Corey Wayne stuff is very valuable, and it has a very good application in so many different contexts. So,
Yes. So him, having read that book multiple times, having followed Corey Wayne as a coach for many years, he really did understand the different dynamics between men and women, the different ways we communicate, our different motivating factors. And so that has helped us a lot.
Awesome.
Because he knows that what I need
is not what he needs.
Is not the same as what he needs. And the easiest way to figure out what we each need is just to ask.
Yes. Yeah, just to ask. And I've noticed a lot of clients, they're either the partner or they're with a partner who perceives a request for what I need as a personal attack, as a criticism, like you're not doing something right, instead of it's just a request for what I need. Can you help me meet that need?
Yes.
Did you have that dynamic going on?
I had that in my marriage.
In your marriage, yeah.
Yes. There was a lot of taking things personally on both sides. And I can't even tell you how that changed for me. Because I was told all the time, don't take things personally, in multiple areas of life for many, many years, even in school, a kid's being mean to you. Well, don't take it personally. Right. You hear that all the time, but what does that actually mean? Yeah. And how do you not take it personally? That was totally lost on me. And it really came down to, I don't even remember when or where I heard it, but there was a statement made that the way my brain processed it was, it's not always about me. And that's okay. Human beings naturally have an ego. We want it to be all about us all of the time.
Yes, we do.
So once I could remind myself, wait, that's not actually about me. I'm not responsible for how this person's feeling, thinking, responding, reacting. But what can I do to listen and support them?
Yeah.
And working in a job that they taught empathy and active listening also was really helpful. Like that was part of your employee training.
Right.
So working in customer service.
Multiple levels of motivation to build this skill.
Yes.
Very cool. And that's, in my experience, that's always a game changer, and it's such an aha moment for people, not just in their relationship development, but in their personal journey. Like, full stop. Wait, I don't have to see that as something in relation to me all the time. It's a total flip. And then when you start operating from that new belief or that new perception that it doesn't have to be about me or it isn't necessarily about me, we move through the world completely differently.
It's so smooth. It's so much smoother.
And it affects every single interaction, every single thought about self. It's just completely, it's like you died and you got to have a different life as a different person.
Yes.
It really is that different.
It really is night and day different. And I've had a number of experiences where I've had those same big realizations, like with not taking things personally, where it really does feel like I wake up the next day and I am a totally new person. And that's like a really cool experience. And I feel so sad when people have never had that experience.
Yeah.
Because it's quite magical.
It is. And I kind of equate that realization with the midlife crisis. Most people, from my experience, go through it between 35 and 45. Some people earlier, some people later. But if somebody hasn't had that moment of full stop, let's flip the script here, I'm worried. I'm like, what has gone wrong here that you haven't had a major upset, destabilization, existential crisis yet? what went wrong?
Great. How have you not had a single experience in your life that's helped you to see other people's perspectives?
Right.
That's concerning.
Yes, and it's bewildering sometimes too. So was there a moment when you realized like all this work that he had done individually and the work that you'd done individually, and then using that together to inform how you interacted with one another, was there a point where you were like, whoa, this is amazing? Like what we have done. What was that moment where you're like, is this real? Like, did this happen?
That moment for me was at one of our daughter's birthday parties when his wife's mom came up to me and said, we've heard so much about you. This was the first time I was meeting her. We've heard so much about you. Like, thank you for sharing your girls with our daughter and for welcoming her as part of the family and for like the relationship that you and Marshall have so that things can be the way that they are. And those were not their exact words. I'm paraphrasing because this was a couple of years ago. But that was the moment where I was like, wow, like, that's cool.
It's a miracle.
It's amazing. Since then, I've had a number of people be like, you should write a book. You should. And I'm not a writer, okay? I don't want to write a book.
That's a belief. And all beliefs are malleable. Just saying.
Okay. Fair. At this point in my life, I don't want to write a book. I won't say I never
I get
will,
that.
But
Like,
right
I
now,
haven't written the book about my relationship story yet, and maybe I never will, but it just, unless it's tugging at you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got to be something that I get real passionate about. Otherwise, what's the point?
Why do it?
Yeah. Life is short. I don't want to spend it on things I'm not passionate about. So, if it ever does, then there might be a book in the future about my co-parenting journey. And
well, and here's your story in the My Story podcast, and hopefully it's benefiting the listeners. And for now, you're just enjoying the fruits of all the hard work.
Yeah.
And all of the tears and the, deconstructing the person
ripping
that
my
you
hair
were.
out, falling on the bathroom floor sobbing. Yes.
You get to enjoy what a wonderful community that you've built around these kids who have so much support and so many adults to go to for guidance and perspective. Like, how amazing for your kids.
Goodness, yes. And especially because like each kid is so uniquely different in what they need and how they communicate, and being able to have multiple trusted adults who all have the skills to talk them through their feelings and what they're going through in a way that they relate to is so powerful.
It's gold.
I've had a number of people in my life and in my kids' lives, that like teachers, friends, who've all been like, wow, your kids are so amazing.
They're
like,
so well adjusted. They're so emotionally mature.
Adjusted. They're emotionally intelligent. Like, what are you doing? I have a friend who she's like, I don't like kids, but I love yours. Like, they are just like mini adults. And I was like, that is intentional because the skills that you learn as a kid are the skills you take into adulthood. And I want my children to be emotionally intelligent and well-adjusted adults, which starts now.
That's the goal. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
What a great, what do they call that? Transformation story, or like a happy ending, I guess.
Yes.
Is the cliche phrase that we use, but it is a really happy ending, and I'm really happy for you. What is, in the future, what do you see coming up next?
I don't know. I'm just very open to whatever comes up. We have talked about the idea of taking a big blended family vacation. We did a blended family camping trip 2 years ago, and a vacation would be really cool. We've talked about like what that would look like, where we would go. Would we go to Rocky Point? Would we go to Disneyland? Would we go somewhere else? So that's something that it's a lot of logistics and a lot of money. So it's not something happening in the immediate future. But
if you have enough people, you get the group rate, though, right?
That's true. There are group rates, and we definitely have enough people between the three, because we have my ex-husband and his wife, and then we have my partner and his kids, and then we have his ex-wife and her fiance and their kids. So we definitely have
group rate potential.
14 of us.
Yeah. Oh, you need one more for 15.
Yeah.
So maybe another baby.
I'm not having any more. Nope, no babies for me. But yes, family vacation, big blended family vacation. That's on the ticket for sometime in the next 5 years before kids start graduating high school.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth,
Thank
for
you.
coming on that podcast.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a wrap.